What's up, guys? I'm excited. We know which judokas may meet in the quarterfinals as long as they get through their pools. But here we go. We're going to break down the top 8 seeds, have a look at the quarterfinal matchups. I'll give you guys my predictions, what I think is going to happen. We'll have a look at their records, who has beaten who. And finally, we'll end on some wild cards who are not in the top 8, who I think may go through and may cause some upsets. So like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So the very number 1 seed from Russia, Mishvidobadze, loves a good kochigari, mixes it up well with the newaza, and European champion in 2020. And I think it was that win at the Europeans that nudged out his fellow competitor, Abdeladze Yago, who is world champion at this weight class, so another world champion not going to the Olympics. Obviously, number 2, Takuto, so a home favorite from Japan. 3rd seed, we have Smetov from Kazakhstan, one of the most popular judoka in the world. Lovely Seoi Otoshi, any drop-down attack really. A world champion himself, but hasn't had the greatest results in recent years, so we'll see how he does. Number 4, we've got Garrigos from Spain, and really strong thrower. Loves a good newaza, loves a good choke and pin on the ground. 5, we've got Latfalayev, and he's got this win over Takuto, which is interesting, but also not the best results in recent times. 6, we've got Kim from Korea, and Kim's actually had some really good results, often losing out to Nagayama, who is not here obviously, but other than that, Kim, strong competitor in this category. Number 7, we've got Chik Vimiani, world champion in 2019 of course, but really strong results, good wins in Kazan and the world championships in Tokyo obviously, strong competitor and really unorthodox. Number 8, we have Yang from Taipei. Yang, really interesting character. He's got a fast seoi nage, but he does prefer to mix it up in the newaza and look for the pin or the submission. So let's take a look how the seeds work in the pools. So number 1 and 8, they're designed to match up against each other. 4 and 5, 2 and 7, and 3 and 6. So in our first quarterfinal, we're going to have Mishvidobadze versus Yang. And they have met before at the World Championships in Tokyo. And this contest ended with Yang winning. No score, unfortunately, but Mishvidobadze went down to the ground, went to the bit of newaza, and then ended getting a shido to his name. If you go back all the way to 2015, Mishvidobadze does have a win over Yang, but at that time I think Yang was like 17 years old, so it is what it is. In the next quarterfinal, Takuto and Chik Vimiani are designed to match up against each other, and what's interesting is you have to go back quite a bit to find the only matchup they have against each other. It ended with Takuto getting the win through shidos, but Chik Vimiani with his teammate Papanashvili does have a lot of experience within the country fighting against Takuto, so he will be leaning on him to get some tips and tricks about how to deal with Takuto. Smetov vs Kim also due to meet in the quarterfinals, and Smetov threw Kim with this lovely uranage not too long ago, so this matchup doesn't look too good for Kim. And in the final quarterfinal, we've got Garrigos for Vlalayev. Now, it's quite a while ago that you see these two meet up before, and Garrigos got this nice pin, a nice head and arm triangle pin there, but not too long before this, Latfalayev, nice kosoto, gets a wazari against Garrigos, so that'll be an interesting contest. But what happens after that is quite interesting. Anyone could go through the quarterfinals, and I think you really have to look at all the matches that have all had against everyone, but Takuto definitely having the upper hand against most of the competition in the top 8. Here he is against Mishvidobadze, throwing him for Uchimata. Thinks it's a wazari, judging by that hand signal. Here he is again against Latfalayev, and Latfalayev, he mistakenly goes into the newaza, and Takuto just slips out and gets a nice pin here, locking up that arm. Yushiro Kesagatame is what I think it's called. Also a win here over Smetov, and not only in the top 8, but Takuto, he's beaten almost everyone who was outside the top 8 as well, so definitely a good record for Takuto, but he did have this one loss against Latfalayev, and he hasn't faced Chikvimiani in a long time, so those are some very interesting points. Smetov record looks pretty good as well. Here he is getting a win over Mishvidobadze with a nice armbar, I must say. Here he is against Yang, and I just have an impression about Yang as being not able to deal with Smetov, Takuto, Chikvimiani on the feet. And as I showed earlier, he's got this lovely win over Kim, so going into the quarterfinal, this is going to be a good experience for him. Will give him some confidence. Here he is getting a win over Garrigos, but in their last outing, he did lose against him. And similar to Takuto, Smetov doesn't have much experience against Chikvimiani. Mishvidobadze, on the other hand, he recently lost against Chikvimiani, a really long contest going deep into golden score. But here he is in 2019, throwing him for Wazari, and he also has another win over him in the Masters as well, and in 2018. But even as the number 1 seed, he's got losses against Lotfalayev, Smetov, Yang, and Takuto. Garrigos has this nice win over Lotfalayev. He also has a win over Kim and Smetov, but Chikvimiani has beaten him several times and he hasn't met Takuto yet. And Kim, in the recent Masters in 2021, gets this nice armbar against Lotfalayev and also countered Chikvimiani earlier on in round 2. Also managed to get a win over Garrigos, but Kim struggles against Smetov and Takuto, so I'm not sure if Kim can get through Smetov. I think there's a tall order for him, but we will see what happens. Chikvimiani, good wins here. 2 wins over Garrigos, and I guess Garrigos would probably have the most experience coming up against Chikvimiani. He seems to have avoided Takuto and Smetov, and he does have that one loss to Kim, but he did get this victory over the number 1 seed, and how can we forget his epic final victory against Lotfalayev at the World Championships. Speaking of Lotfalayev though, I mean, he's got this win over Garrigos and also a win over Chikvimiani, but his recent contest results are not that flash, and I don't think he's in top. Yang, last of all, and he does have that win over the number 1 seed, Mishvidobadze. And another Ippon as well, but on the ground, Newaza against Lotfalayev here. Reverse Sankaku, locks it up and pins him down, but I do think Yang just doesn't have the throwing prowess to throw these guys in the top 8, so I'm a little uncertain that he will be on the podium for a medal. Just briefly, the wild cards, we've got Shakado from the Netherlands. He has a good win over Lotfalayev. And Dashvadar as well from Mongolia. A couple of great Ochigaris here against Garrigos, and always a strong competitor. So what am I trying to say here, guys? In the end of the day, we don't know where everyone else outside of the top 8 are going to place, but we do know how the quarterfinals are looking up. Now, I think that the top 8, especially the higher end of the top 8, are a class above everyone else, and it will be very, very surprising if I see them lose. So if I was a betting man in the first quarterfinal, I would have Mr. Budzi to beating out Yang. I'm going to have Garrigos getting the upset over Lotfalayev. I don't think Lotfalayev is in top form. I think his record is pretty weak heading into the Olympics. Takuto versus Chikvimiani, that is a really, really tough contest. It could go either way. But in the final quarterfinal, Smetov versus Kim, I'm picking Smetov for that one. That means in the semifinals, we're going to have Mishvidobadze versus most likely Garrigos, in my opinion. We're going to pick the Russian for that one. And then between Takuto and Chikvimiani, I think home advantage. Takuto goes through. It's Takuto versus Smetov in the semifinals. Takuto using all his experience, and he's definitely had the upper hand against Smetov. Smetov has generally struggled against Japanese judoka, so Takuto going through. Russia versus Japan. I would probably pick Takuto in that matchup. I think he's got better stand-up and much better defense on the ground. He doesn't lose on the ground that often. He's got really, really good newaza. But I think the big question is that quarterfinal. Can he beat HIFUMI? And I don't think we have enough data or footage to answer that question. So let me know what you think, guys, in the comments. I'm going to do this for all the categories. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.